Hello everyone, this is Jimmy and welcome to episode 17 of Celestial Journey. Before we get started today, actually one thing I want to mention before we get into the Ritual Diviner is that I am trying to record at 60 frames per, or say 60 FPS right now. You'll notice that I usually am above 60 FPS, although sometimes like if I'm doing stuff it dips below. Let me know if you can tell when it lags, because when I'm playing at 30 FPS, you guys shouldn't notice the lag spikes. But when I record at 60, maybe you will. Anyways, let me know if you think it's better, worse, the same, etc., etc. In better news, more exciting news, we can now make the Ritual Diviner of Dusk because we have access to all these Botania runes. So let's craft it. I've also already crafted a Master Ritual Stone and a number of basic Ritual Stones. These are very simple recipes, reinforced slates, and a whole bunch of dark steel. But aside from that, nothing too impressive. So now that we have this, we can start doing rituals so that we don't have to poke ourselves with the dagger anymore. So right now, where's my audio? 1 second. There we go. Audio's back. So right now I'm poking myself with the dagger to fill the blood altar, and it works well enough because I have these hearts to eat. However, I can only fill the blood altar up to 50,000, and then I go do something else, and then it drains, and I have to come back and fill it again. That's no fun. So why don't we go about trying to automate the altar, or the filling of the altar, with rituals? To do so, we have to place the ritual stone and configure it to do the Well of Suffering ritual. Whoa, don't throw that. Come back here. So I think you shift right click until... Ooh, there's some new ones in here. I haven't heard of some of these rituals before. I think they may come from one of the add-ons. Like one of the Blood Magic add-ons. But anyways, specifically I'm looking for Well of Suffering. We'll get there. There we go. And then I looked it up. The Well of Suffering takes exactly 40 ritual stones. I think you can look it up in the documentation book too, but I haven't crafted that. I just use Google as my documentation. So you just sit here and right-click it until it places all the stones, and then you have to activate the ritual with a activation crystal. And for this one specifically, a weak activation crystal will do. So actually, I haven't even crafted that yet. I don't think I have enough fire water. Let me do some crafting then. Previously, I'd only made like a bucket of fire water for our Grains of Infinity, but now that we're going to need it for the activation crystal, I may as well set up a more robust system. Because I think, yeah, we'll be needing a bunch of these down the road. Anyways, start, you take water, react it with poisonous potatoes and sugar. I think regular potatoes work too. You can basically, you need to make hooch, and there's like a billion different ways to do it. But then you take the hooch, redstone, and blaze powder. So basically everything in here is renewable, and it produces this fire water. Cool. And then with that, we should easily be able to craft a lava crystal. Dunking the lava crystal in a blood altar creates the weak activation crystal. I think there are 2 tiers of activation crystal, but the weak one will suffice for almost all the rituals. Oh, I guess there's technically 3. There's a awake or a creative tier, but there's only a handful of rituals that take the awaken one, and I think that probably requires a higher tier blood orb than we have. Yeah, minimum archmage, which is a tier 5. The awake one can do all the rituals that the weak crystal can do, but not the other way around. Anyways, this, how much blood exactly does it take? 25,000. All right. So it looks like it'll take it a minute to craft. And it's done. Now, to activate the ritual, you right-click it on the Master Ritual Stone. However, activating this ritual takes 50,000 LP, and if you don't have enough, I don't think it works. So let's check to see. Yeah, we don't have 50,000 LP in our blood network. This will either not work or it'll kill me, and I hope it just doesn't work. Yeah, so it says you feel a push but are too weak to perform the ritual because we don't have enough. So let's stick our blood orb in here, and hopefully this will be the last time we have to manually poke ourselves with the dagger. With over 50,000 life essence, we right-click it, and it activates. There's no graphic, but trust me, it's running. In fact, if we look at it, it says, Well of Suffering, current owner, me. current owner means that I am paying to keep it active. And I think if we take this out, we can kind of see that. Because it's not actually doing anything right now, the maintenance cost might be 0. And in fact, it looks like it is 0. Anyways, so what it does is the Well of Suffering damages nearby nearby non-player entities, and you get life essence from them. So let's build a little cage around this that'll hold mobs, and we'll spawn them in with the mob duplicator. The mob duplicator here gets its essence from our ME system, sent from a Fluid Export bus, and this essence is generated, if you recall, out in the Nether by our mob farms there. So now it's just a matter of choosing what mob we spawn. One thing you typically want to check is check your configs for this and look at blood magic and see if let's see, config values, and under sacrificial values, see if these are changed, because I know some packs change them. But the idea is that villagers and passive mobs generate more blood than stuff like, hostile mobs. And I think, I'm not actually sure what value mobs that aren't on this list do, but I think it's worse than anything that's listed. So I think the best choice is villagers, because of the passives, they have the most health. So it's kind of evil, but I'm a kind of evil person. It's also very, thematically appropriate, right? You do blood magic with human blood or NPC blood. Anyways, I'm going to try to not be too creepy here. So let's grab a mob imprisonment tool and go snag ourselves another villager. I think I might be close to running out of villagers in this village. And in fact, no, there's still at least one left. Hello, buddy. How you doing? Welcome to your new home, librarian. So the mob duplicator here will automatically shut off once there's, too many mobs in its region. Oh, geez, it's loud. But I think its limit is high enough that I'm okay with that. So we'll see. Yeah, like at this point, it's shut off. If we need more mobs in the area, what we'd have to do is spawn them, further away and then like push them here with vector plates. But that also turns off the default safety of this, right? This has a safety feature where if there's too many mobs, it turns off, so it'll never like crash your server by putting 10,000 mobs in one area. Anyways, now what we can observe is that our blood altar is completely. We're gonna mute this. Hold on, because they're really loud. All right, so now when we put our blood orb in here, the blood altar fills our blood orb, and the ritual fills our blood altar. So now we don't have to poke ourselves with our needle anymore to get blood, which is really nice. What this also means is that as long as I leave my blood orb in here, this will automatically keep it full, which means we can now automate all our alchemy things because we don't have to worry about running out of life essence in our life network. Now, as you can see, as the villagers take damage, they'll eventually die, and that's pretty evil, and I'm not that evil a person. What we can do to help them stay alive a little longer is to give them regeneration. So there's a blood magic way to do it. You can set up another ritual, and that's perfectly fine. In fact, it works great. However, I want to try making the RF Tools environmental controller and giving them regen 3. I think the blood magic one only gives them regen 1. In fact, with this, I can also give myself regen and stuff like saturation. And I've crafted this peaceful module, which means that we can also set up a large area where just mobs don't spawn. So to craft these, however, they use 2 beacons each. So we have to automate. Well, we don't have to fully automate, but we at least have to we have to get more nether stars. To do that, let's start by spawning a bunch of wither skeletons to get their skulls. I swapped this spawner over to wither skeletons, and they are producing skulls now. So, couple small things. First of all, wither skeletons drop a bunch of their stupid swords. I'm sure we'll see them sooner or later. Stone swords. So I just added a trash can here with a filter that only allows stone swords through and ignore damage, so that it'll void all stone swords. And secondly, I know we can kill the skeletons with like a cleaver, a Tinker's Construct cleaver instead, to get like up to 100% drop rate on skulls. But as it stands, I think this is sufficient. I think we get with Fortune 3, you get 1 skull per 20-ish kills on average. And this kills them way faster than trying to do it with cleavers. So, yeah, good enough. We don't need to spawn like a bajillion withers anyways. So, now that we have skulls, let's automate the process of building the wither. The natural way to do that, I think, is with the wither builder from Industrial Foregoing. This block just basically builds a wither directly above it. However, to make it, we need another star. Oh, I guess we need some evil infused ingots too. Is there an easy way to make this? I guess we have to make an enchanter. Alright, so yeah, we're going to need a few nether stars to kick this process off. So I think I'll build a few by hand. The good news is the mob crusher, I'm pretty sure, is able to kill withers. So all we have to do is build them inside our force field, and they get taken care of automatically. Life withers. And a good thing too is the force field here will completely block like the explosion damage as well as their, little shooty projectiles. So I don't have to worry about them like destroying my drawers or anything. The fact that they fly up and out of mob crusher range is unfortunate. I could shoot them, but then they hurt me. This is awkward. Alright, my temporary solution is just to move the mob crusher up so that it'll be in range. And there we go. It takes care of them in just a quick second. I think what I'll do in the long term, though, is I'll actually just reduce the height of this shield. I don't think it needs to be quite as tall to be still effective. Alright, I reduced the height by 2. So let's spawn in 4 withers and just make sure that this is able to kill them. It might still be too high. I think I can reduce it 1 more before withers start clipping through. If withers spawn clipped in it, then that's bad because they'll be able to leave. But no, that seems like that worked fine. So there we go, 4 nether stars in addition to the 3 we had before. That'll allow us to build the wither builder. The wither builder, if you had to guess, builds withers. So if we place it here, is that centered? Not quite. Let's move it 1 block. Place it here and check its range. You can kind of see. I think we can safely turn off the shield for now. See that this purple area? That's where it puts the wither. So it conveniently has a one airspace above it where the shield goes, and that protects the wither builder from the wither it builds. So then all we have to do is provide it with power and let's see. So power can come from here, I guess. And wither materials. And it builds withers. Simple as that. And then the withers will get killed by our mob crusher. And the drops will, I guess if I make room for the nether stars, will get stored in this drawer system. Alright, so all that's left is to automatically shove this full of soul sand and wither skeleton skulls. Alright, I turned it on and now I can't get close enough to turn it off. So I guess it's running until we run out of wither skulls. What's happening is you see that interface there? That's providing the materials to the... I managed to get you to turn it off. That's providing the materials to this wither builder, which I have set to active with redstone. And in fact, I probably want to change that to run on a pulse so that I don't really want to spawn withers. I mean, I guess it's fine to spawn them that fast. Because the shield's not doing damage to them, it isn't really draining our shield generator, and I don't think there's any realistic threat of it draining our shield generator all the way to 0. But yeah, with that, our wither automation is, at least for now, complete. We'll later swap off of actually literally killing withers to using the mod has a modular machine for it, but we're a little ways off from that, right? To be able to use like the wither data models to get to kill withers. The advantage of doing it through the data model is that we can get supremium essence from it. Whereas killing them this way, they only drop on nether stars and orange hearts. Our source of nether stars secured, we can now turn our sights towards the environment controller. But before we can really use it, I need some iron golem DNA. So we're just gonna take some DNA from you. Good news is, if it's iron golem you summon, he doesn't get mad at you, so he doesn't hit you. Whereas if you go to a village and poke theirs, then they do get mad at you, and they hit very hard. Anyways, thanks for the DNA. So it's been a while since I've used one of these, but I think the way it works is you place it down, you specify a radius around it, as well as what Y level range you want it to affect. So, and you put your modules in here. So I want it to give regen 3 to mobs at, what's our Y level? 82. So like, we'll give it a small range from 80 to, I don't know, 84? 80 to 84. And I want to, let's see, affects hostile and passive mobs. Yes, I want that. And I want it to affect me too, which it looks like it is affecting me. So there we go. These guys are now, they have regen 3, which will keep them alive through the well of suffering. And they well, I get regen 3 while I'm here. Not that that's terribly relevant, because I'm not in range of this very often. Now, I don't necessarily need a radius of 50. I can bring that down quite a bit. In fact, even to like 10, I guess. And that way we use less power. For 14 RF a tick, we are keeping all of these villagers alive indefinitely. Now, I built another one because for my peaceful thing, you know, I want this centered in the base, and I want no mobs to spawn in like a, I don't know, maybe like a 200 block radius. So assuming we're going to use up this entire plateau eventually, if I put this here-ish and set it to 200 blocks, I think that'll be okay. So we'll tuck you away here. So once again, put the module in. I guess 100 is the biggest radius it goes. Oh, is that enough? 100 is... 100 divided by 16 is how many chunks is that? Well, I mean, I can just see. Hold on. So from there, 100 blocks. That's pretty good. It gets me all the way out to here. Okay, 100's enough. Anyways, a Y level, we're at 73, so I want to, let's see, we want our high to be above that and our low to be below that. So, and because this is affecting a much larger area, you'll see it has a much higher energy cost. This, it costs 3,500 RF a tick, and if I, you know, tune the radius a bit more, it'll cost less. But I mean, oh, now it's updated, I think, because I made the Y level range smaller. So for less than 1,000 RF a tick, it'll prevent all mob spawns in this area. So like the stupid spider pumpkins won't spawn anymore, and like the, you know, spiders that are polluting my nice little plateau here won't spawn. So I think I'll actually make a third one of these and put it in the nether with regeneration as well for the villagers that I'm melting in our smeltery. Looks like the smeltery damages these mobs slightly faster than the Well of Suffering, so they do still slowly die. But because they die more slowly, we use less essence. Not that I'm terribly concerned about running out of essence. We have, you know, actually that we used to have 10% of the obelisk. Now we only have like 6% of it full. So we are losing essence overall. Maybe it is good to save on some essence then. Anyways, this will extend the longevity of our villagers and increase the amount of emeralds they produce each. Thanks, villagers. So now that our life essence, or our LP, I don't even know what LP stands for. Life power? Life point. I think that's what it is. Anyways, our LP network has a bunch of essence in it. You see, we are almost at 1 million. I don't know where we cap out, but in fact, I thought the divination sigil was supposed to tell you what your max is. Anyways, now that we have a bunch, though, we can automate our alchemy. So I'm going to, well, for starters, I guess we can turn this one back on. I've just been turning it off by pulling the blood orb out, but now we can turn it back on. I'm going to add a bunch more alchemy tables here to craft all the various, all these, check the quests, all these various, I don't even know what you call these, dusts, reagents. And once we have them automated, that'll make the rest of blood magic much more accessible. I think I may have gotten slightly ahead of myself here. For some of these reagents, like the advanced stimulant, they use stuff like nether wart or, well, just stuff that I don't have an infinite amount of yet because I don't actually have an automated farm. I mean, I kind of do. I have this nano farm that I've been swapping out the plant that goes in it every now and then, but like I only have 3 types of plants in here. So why don't we first build a actual farm so that we can grow things like netherwort. So those of you that have watched my Project Ozone series probably recognize this farm. The idea is that crops that are planted in crop sticks, when they are hit by a horn of the wild or by the drum of the wild, which is basically just an automatic version of this, will drop their drops without breaking. So to activate a drum of the wild, they need to receive a mana pulse, and to do that, I'm going to shoot them with a pulse mana spreader, which shoots a mana pulse every time it receives a redstone signal. Now, to make it so that normally mana pulses die when they hit the first thing, so like the drum, I want it to go through it. What I'm going to do is use a phantom lens for that, and a messenger lens extends the range and reduces the mana used by the spreader. In fact, if we look at our, if I can grab my wand of the forest, if you look at our mana spreaders, you see that there's a spot right here. This is where the mana pulse normally starts to lose mana. Whereas if I put the messenger lens on it, we can see that spot, we might not even see the spot at all anymore. It's way off. In fact, it might be more evident if I put it on this one. We can see it somewhere off in the distance. Oh, no, we can't because it hits the drum. So, whoopsies. We see that we want to have the effects of both lenses. Well, you can combine lenses together. I'm not sure if, yeah, it can be done just in your 2x2. It doesn't matter the order. It's just up to you which one you want. It takes the appearance of the first, but it has the effects of both. So if we put that lens there now, hopefully we should be able to see. Yeah, you see that mana shot going, out towards infinity, and this is a point where it starts to lose mana. So combining messenger and phantom lenses is something for a lot of automation is like an optimal solution. So we'll do that on this one as well. And put it here. Now I just need to prime the system with a little bit of mana, so let me go grab a mana tablet and move a little bit of mana over here. Ain't cheap. Well, it's not like, it just requires you to have your runes set up before you can build it. Anyways, I'll auto craft it. It'll take it a second because it has to craft some runes, but you can see our tier 3 runes now are just auto crafted. Huzzah! These mana pools only need just a tiny bit of mana in them, which I transferred over with our tablet, because this is a fully closed system. So none of the mana that starts in the system will ever be lost. Therefore, we don't have to worry about it running out. So I'm pulsing it with a timer, sending it to a redstone transmitter that's touching the 2 receivers, and there we go. I don't know what I have it set to. Every 5 seconds, a mana pulse should fire, and that triggers the 2 drums that causes the items to pop off. All I have left to do then is to collect the items into something. I figured since we're doing Botania for most of the farm, why don't we try using Botania to pick up the items as well? So a hopper hawk is kind of like a vacuum hopper type thing, but it remotely picks up the items. It doesn't need to actually physically suck the entity towards it, and it places it in a adjacent inventory if there's room. And I think if there's no room in the adjacent inventory, then it just won't pick up the item. So right now I'm testing it just with a chest so that items don't stay on the ground. But yeah, by doing this, we can that'll automatically pick up the items that get dropped from the farm. Now, to increase the Hopper Hawk's range, you do have to give it some mana. I'm testing to see if it consumes the mana you give it, but that doesn't appear to be the case. You can see I have it linked to this empty mana pool here, and the flower is still at full mana. So I think as long as it gets its initial shot of mana, it'll kind of like the rest of the system. It'll never actually consume mana, which is nice. To see the range of the flowers too, you have to make a Mana Seer monocle, and then when you look at a flower, whether it's the floating variant or the planted on dirt variant, it shows you the range. Likewise, I have a Solgania to turn off my annoying magnet while I'm trying to do work. Cool. So now all I have to do is, instead of storing the items into a chest, I think it's better to store them into a drawer. So I'll put a drawer system, I guess, right by this Hopper Hawk. And here it is all set up. So all of the essences and crops that drop will get picked up by the Hopper Hawk if there's room in the drawer system for it. For items that are dropped that don't have room, they'll just stay on the ground. So what that means is I do have to be kind of careful. If I plant a seed, I have to make sure there's, a slot for it in the drawers as well. Otherwise, the items will just accumulate on the ground and cause lag. That said, so as far as the growth acceleration here, all I have for now are sprinklers. I don't have any growth crystals. And I'm even thinking once I get imaginary time blocks, I'll even rip all these sprinklers out and replace it, this with something maybe a bit less unsightly, more sightly. But for now, without the growth or without the sprinklers, they do grow just a little bit too slow for my liking. So with this farm done, I can now use any of these resources over in our alchemy setup. So I ran into a bit of a snag automating the alchemy table for advanced stimulants. You see it uses 2 simple stimulants in the input. At first I thought that by using a limited item filter, I could just say, hey, put 2 stacks of this in here, as well as a stack of netherwort and a stack of bone meal. But it seems to only put 1 stack in. And I think what it doesn't understand that it means it wants 2 stacks. Basically, that filter and this filter are functionally the exact same. And in fact, even if I fill all the slots, it won't add any more simple stimulant. It sees, oh, hey, I have a stack of simple stimulants already, so I don't want any more. My solution for that, however, is to insert use a limited item filter to insert the netherwort and bone meal, so they take up at most 1 stack. You close the other 2 stacks so that nothing goes in there, right? Because it's only 4 inputs. And then you insert the simple stimulants with just an item filter not a limited item filter. That way it'll, fill all the remaining slots. This technically can run into a snag if you ever run completely out of bone meal or netherwort. It'll jam simple stimulant into that 3rd slot, but I can't see a world in which I run out of either bones or, the essences for bone meal. Now, technically, I guess I just planted my nether essence, but once I do that, I'll have enough nether essence that, in fact, our nether seeds are done, that I should never run out of bone meal or netherwort. I'm about, I'd say maybe halfway through, a little over halfway through doing all the dusts, and I ran into another snag, this time on Ambustio. So Ambustio here is unique in that it has 2, it has a double input, and it has a lava bucket input, which is, it only stacks to 1, and when it's done, it leaves a bucket behind. So I couldn't just do the same technique I did with stuff like here or here that have that double input, right, where I put 1 input on one side, 1 input on the other, and I don't do a filter or a double, or I don't put a limited item filter on the double input. Because if I were to do that, what would happen is when we go to withdraw the bucket, I can't guarantee that the lava bucket gets placed in here before more pyrotheum does. So to deal with that issue, I decided to use a impulse hopper this time. An impulse hopper, what it does is, it lets one set of items through when it has room for all of them. And that guarantees that we don't send more pyrotheum than we do lava. Well, we send pyrotheum and lava buckets in exactly 1-to-2 ratio. Therefore, we always fill this slot. Well, if it tries to put the pyrotheum first, it'll stack it in these pre-existing slots. And if it tries to send a lava bucket, it'll put it in the new slot. And then, because we have the bucket left behind, at the end I withdraw the bucket and send it back to the crafter where it gets filled with lava, once again using essence. So the buckets are on a closed loop and never get consumed. So yeah, this is one of the trickier ones so far. I'm also almost out of room, so I set up another 32 sets over there. But with Embustio done, there are 5 more dusts. Phew, what a trip it's been. But maybe 20, 30 odd alchemy tables later, all of the custom dusts are now crafted. So all the dusts that we see in these quest areas are fully background crafted, which means they're just being made automatically, stored in a drawer up to a limit. For some of these, it's only 1 stack for now because what I'm actually running out of, I'm not running out of resources. I have plenty of those in most cases. However, I am running out of life essence. It's not really what I expected considering we have this ready, right? But what's happening is, because of how much crafting we're doing, we're actually using life essence faster than I can generate it. And I've already had to put some speed runes on this altar to fill our orb faster, but I think now we need to upgrade this altar just a little bit further to get more life per mob, or per like damage tick. To do so, we need to put runes of sacrifice on it. Let's see, rune of sacrifice. And this is largely the reason why I was holding off on doing, on putting runes of self-sacrifice on, because I knew we would eventually swap all our self-sacrifices over to regular sacrifices. So yeah, let's see about crafting a handful of these. Now, the other issue is we're out of rune slots on our altar. Thankfully, the next tier is pretty easy. We just replace the bricks on the side with, our rune of our choice, and these stone bricks in the corners become beacons, which we just automated today. So right now our altar is tier 4, and it's producing right around 3,000 LP a second. At least I think it's per second. Definitely per operation, and it feels like it's about 1 operation per second. Anyways, when I put this last rune in, let's see how much it goes up by. So this next level, I have 26 runes of sacrifice and 26 runes of speed. So let's see. It's tough to tell exactly now because now I generate life essence faster than I can jam it into my blood orb. But about 10,000 per tick, I think. And now we're topped off. But yeah, about 10,000 per operation, which is to be expected. I think each rune of sacrifice is 10%, plus 10%. So we should go from about 3,000 plus, let's see, we have 26 of them. So times 3.6. 3,000 times 3.6 puts us right in the 10,000 vicinity. So with that, we should see that even with all of our alchemy going, our LP network is now filling instead of draining. That also unlocks the next tier blood orb, the tier 5, which increases the total capacity of our life network if we can make one. Demon gem, Elysian ingot, Terra steel. Okay, so I mean, I guess that very naturally transitions us into trying to make Terra steel. And by that, I meant it naturally transitions us into making Terra steel tomorrow. So, I'm glad we were able to get all this alchemy automated. Oh boy, it's a relief not to have to use this stupid manual alchemy table all the time. But, yeah, anyways, I hope you enjoyed this episode, and I hope to see you in the next one where we'll make Terra steel. Take care. Bye-bye.